Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. This is your host, Kiyan, Sobhani, joined by my co-host, Diego Lorijn. It is Tuesday, September 20th. Diego is turning down the volume on his microphone, and he's pointing to his new era cap, which I'm sure he'll explain in a second. Gotta celebrate because Real Madrid have gotten through a difficult part of the schedule, and they are top of the league. 9 wins to start the season. Their best start since 1968. And Barca are hot in the tracks, but they also have a different schedule coming up that is a little bit more difficult, so they'll be tested after the international break. So as we head into the international break, Real Madrid numero uno, Barcelona numero dos, but right there, just on the trails. And this feels like La Liga of, I don't know, just the stereotypical La Liga, the two-team race. So here we are, Madrid off of a fresh derby victory, which was no doubt heated and also very controversial. And Diego is going to break it all down for us. Diego, how you doing, buddy?
I was pointing at my hat, first of all. Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday.
Okay, I didn't see that part. It's hard to see on the camera.
Yes, I'm giving this hat a last chance. This was an impulse buy, and I regret it instantly. I paid too much for this hat. I paid 25 euros. It's a new era cap, as you can see, but I don't know. I feel like an idiot. Maybe at a barbecue or something, but I can't wear this to the street, not as a 40-year-old man.
You can do what you want. There's no rules.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really digging it. It looks okay today for some reason. Maybe because it's Taco Tuesday. I have a reason to be like pointing at my hat. Good to have you back in Ontario, my friend. It was fun to have you on the same time zone for a little while. You sound a little bit. You're coming in hot. You're coming in strong, my friend, with the churros. It might have been overblasting in the mic a bit. I don't know if you've turned up your gain. Just letting you know.
It's on the lowest setting.
All right.
I guess
all right.
I can just step back a little bit.
But with that being said, very impressive stats you were dropping there. You talked about the best start of La Liga for Real Madrid since the 60s, you mentioned.
Yeah,
in the case 68. Of Barça, 68. In the case of Barça, since 97. The best start in La Liga since 1997. So, yeah, I think it's a two-horse race. I would agree with you. We've talked about how we anticipate this league being won with over 90 points, possibly 95. We don't think it'll get to 100, but certainly it'll look that way. You talked about Madrid overcoming a tough schedule. That's a bit of a stretch. I mean, I think the derby... Look, it played out exactly the way we would have thought it was going to play out. It was going to be ugly. It was going to be feisty, tense due to the surroundings of Vinicius, Atletico fans, Coque. There's a lot to be said about that. We'll be jumping into that, no doubt. But on the topic of having no doubts, I also had no doubt with Madrid walking away with the 3 points. It was a potential banana peel for both teams to maybe drop a point, or 2 points rather, walk away with a draw and a point each. It wasn't the case. Madrid with a medio gas, at half gas, did enough to take away the 3, or to walk away with the 3 points. Deservedly so. I think Atletico didn't show much on the night. Resilience or yeah. I mean, after the 2-0, it was over. Despite the late goal, it was a match that I felt was always going to be falling in favor for Real Madrid. And I was flicking back and forth because, of course, the Eurobasket final was being played between France and Spain. That epic battle falling in favor, the balance tipping in favor for Spain. I say tip in favor as if it was a contest. The semifinal against Germany was a better game than this final. I was very happy of these boys, though, walking away with their 4th Eurobasket win in the history. It's like the equivalent of the Euro Cup for basketball. And they did it against all odds. When this tournament started, FIBA had them ranked 7th. And these guys did, the legends like the Gasol brothers, the Ricky Rubios, the Navarros, the Yui, who couldn't play. They did all of them very proud. Rudy Fernandez, the legend that's still standing with one foot, throwing in incredible threes. Obviously, Bo Cruz. Have you seen The Hustle? Or just Hustle? It's not The Hustle. Hustle with Adam Sandler. Great movie. You'll love it. So the Hernan Gomez brothers really leading the way towards victory here, but everybody was stellar, man. And Lorenzo Brown, the American that signed for Spain, got his nationality, his citizenship just before the tournament to play for the Spanish team. That was controversial, and that guy, he played the lights out. So whether you're in favor of these kind of processes or not, these kind of coloring between the lines or outside of the lines, I should say, to make a team more competitive. In this case, Lorenzo Brown, an American, joining Spain not being the first and only country to have ever done this. In fact, just before I continue here, Joel Embiid will reportedly be playing for France in the Olympics. So watch out for France in the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is apparently going to happen. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Man, Basketball is amazing right now.
Yeah, it's fun. And this tournament was great. And then, like I said, I was finished there with Spain picking up the win. So, yeah, switching back and forth between the games. But it felt like Madrid, and you'll be able to, of course, give a much clearer and better impression and perception of how the game actually was. You were inside of the stadium. It was a pressure cooker. It was nasty, ugly. La Liga will do good if they want to keep promoting the league to really clean this beautiful game up. This, what is, besides the Sevilla derby, the biggest derby in the Spanish competition, the two biggest teams in Madrid, the nation's capital, going head to head. And it was ugly, man. It was ugly. And it's luckily La Liga still has the Clásico. And there's no doubt we can expect a better game for the Clásico, because this is not something you want to be promoting and putting that as like a stamp of approval in La Liga, say, look, the kind of football that's going on here. But anyway, you're in first, yes, and you'll be walking to the Clásico first. It's gonna go down to the wire this season. I feel it.
Well, okay, so I also want to clarify the scheduling thing. I said, a tough schedule. I should clarify that it's not, I didn't mean to say, we just beat Milan of the 80s, Brazil of the 70s, Pep's Barca on the way to winning this derby. It just means that I guess to elaborate on what I was saying, is I think it'll be interesting to see how Barca will deal with the upcoming schedule. Because for us, our schedule until now has been a little bit more difficult. And I also think, I'm just curious to see where Barca stand against a true team and how they'll pass the test. We already broke down the whole Bayern thing, but, the upcoming schedule we've discussed to death is a little bit more tricky for Barcelona. And I'm interested to see that. Having said that, it's very Real Madrid, in classic Real Madrid style, to start losing against teams that they're not supposed to lose to and winning the tough games. I also want to say something else in addition to that. Beating Atletico away from home right now is kind of like just a slightly more difficult version of you guys beating Sevilla at the Sanchez Pizjuan. On the calendar, that's a tough game. Going to Sevilla at the Sanchez Pizjuan in any basically season in the history of Spanish football is a tough game. Same thing away to Atletico Madrid, whether it's the Civitas, whether it's the Wanda, whether it's the Calderon, whatever their stadium is called or where it is. It's a tough game. But Sevilla has been really bad this season. Atletico has been not as bad as Sevilla, but they've been poor. I was rewatching that, I was just in the airport yesterday, killing time between layovers, and I rewatched a good chunk of the Atletico game. I'm going to write about it. They were so bad in that first half. It was unbelievable. I'd love to, I'm giving as many props as I can to Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid in that first half, because the counterattacking and defending was pretty much impeccable. Fede was amazing, Rodrigo was amazing, Vinicius was amazing, Modric was amazing, etc. Tchouaméni. But Atletico just rolled out the red carpet for us in that first half. Yeah. They didn't put any pressure on any of our passes coming out of the back. They held a high line. They let Vinicius and Rodrigo run into space. They let everyone carry the ball up the field, pick out passes. It was just a really bad performance. And I think by the time the second half they woke up and were a bit more aggressive. It was too late, and I won't lie, I was a little bit worried at the end that they actually would sneak in the second goal out of nowhere on a set piece or something. I was a little bit worried about that, and I was like, that would have been a disastrous end after a promising first half. But I think Simeone just got it terribly wrong in this game, really bad stuff from Atletico. So.
Tell us now that we have you here sitting down. I don't know. I imagine you already spoke about it, broke it down on the Managing Madrid pod. But for the Churros loyals, the loyal listeners of this humble podcast, what was it like inside of the Wanda Metropolitano? And I'm, of course, referring to the abuse aimed at one specific player, et cetera, et cetera. I want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we spent the opening 21 minutes of the post-game podcast just talking about racism, basically. Okay. So I think a lot of people have heard what I said. I will add some more, I guess, fresh perspectives in that. First of all, the atmosphere was really intense. So so a lot of Atletico fans came out to me on social media and said, you misheard what we said. We did not say mono, we said tonto. And so
there were tonto chants. Yes.
Yeah. So I think to be fair, I think while there was a lot of intense and I don't know what you want to call that, banter, abuse, whatever, like just normal stuff.
There were also monkey chants.
That's what I also wanted to say.
By monkey, I don't mean the word. Sorry to keep interrupting. No. Like the sound. Yes. Exactly.
So, and that's one thing that people were very, like, they, came out a lot, Atletico fans in the masses. You're a liar. Did Real Madrid pay you to say that we were all racist? And I didn't paint that big of a brush, but I pretty much said I heard what I heard, and it was not coming from just the ultras down low. We were sitting up high at the press, and it was all behind us too, and it was pretty loud and clear, and it was a significant amount of people. And it wasn't just the mono tonto thing that maybe I misheard. It was also the actual monkey chants. Okay, so there's that. And what was I going to say? Yeah, it's so I mean, just the thing about I've been to many derbies now at the Bernabeu, and also this is actually my only second derby away from home, like at the Metropolitano. I didn't go to any in the Calderon. And I can say that like the Atletico one is a little bit more intense in general. Like my ears actually hurt. Like it's deafening. It's really, really deafening. It hurts my ears to sit there at times. It reminded me of like being at a Raptors game, like Raptors games, like in a big, massive playoff game. You feel like your ears are going to pop out of your skull. It gets so loud, and it kind of reminded me of it's unbelievable. Like it's And so I started to think about like, oh my God, this is just like as crazy as it gets, because the Bernabeu only gets like that really during Champions League games, or really, really like, and I don't mean like the Leipzig game that I just went to, which was pretty boring. I mean like the ones where like the season is on the line, or like
and Clásico,
an intense Clásico. Not all Clásicos get like that.
Right.
So, anyways, the atmosphere was, I mean, really intense. I mean, it's a good atmosphere. I won't lie, it's a cool stadium. Like it's a cool stadium to sit at. Yeah,
I haven't been, but it's must be state of the art. I'll take your word for it. What did it start already in the warm ups? By the way, you have this tendency to get to the game like 2 hours before kickoff. What is your arrival time at the stadium? Because your picture's always of empty seats. I'm always impressed.
1 hour.
You're there. 1 hour, yeah. And Spain, I mean, the fans, they're literally running into the stadiums when kickoff, like 5 minutes to kick off, or when the ball's already rolling, people are still arriving. Yeah. It's not like Well, I mean, the bars outside of the stadium are packed like even 5 minutes before kickoff, and then they just finish, they chug their beers, and then they run in. I mean, the gates open, I think, for everybody, but for press, I think they open 2 hours before. But I've gone 2 hours before, and it's like, what are you going to do? Sit there for 2 hours? Like, it's good if it's like your first time, you're just curious, or like me, when I started going to games as press, I was nervous, so I didn't know what to expect. So I would go super early and like, just kind of look around. But it was cool. Like if you're going to be stuck somewhere,
it's better to be stuck there early than, stuck in traffic or stuck on a metro or something and
100%.
not being able to find your gate. So it's not the worst thing, but now it's like I go 1 hour before. So
surprise, surprise, I've been stuck on the other end. Like I have been stuck in traffic or metros, like, seeing the difficulties of arriving to the stadium where it's packed and, transporting masses of people, and it's not fun.
Especially the Metropolitano, which might as well be in Canada. It's so far.
Right.
It's so far
away.
Hard to get to. Like
Jeesh.
Bernabeu, I always walk to, but like the Metropolitano is like just a different country at this point. It's so far.
You can't really call it a derby anymore either. I mean, they're outside of the city.
Yeah, it's like a European. It's like a European city.
Like Laporta famously said, like, he's like, no, we don't. There is no city of Barcelona derby because they have moved outside of the city. It's El Prat, technically. It's what did I want to say? Okay, so you're right. Where I was going with this was, did it already become evident? Because I heard somebody here reported in Spain that the monkey chants were already happening while the fans were walking inside the stadium. So it was all happening outside. There were gatherings of different sets or, groups of fans, and it was there. Basically, the atmosphere was already heating up with that specific theme, let's say. So I would have imagined that continued during warm up or something. Was it already kind of, crispy? Was it tense already during that time?
Yeah, I mean, mind you, so like I didn't hear or see the racist chants outside the stadium until I saw the video when I got inside the stadium. And so that's partly because, so like when I go and I know exactly where I'm going, I know where the press store is. I'm not going to like, oh, let's go see what the Atletico fans are doing. No, I'm just like, avoid the crowd, just go straight beeline, point A, point B. I know where the press store is and I go in. And
you're not getting in there dressed in white. Like, hijo de puta, coño.
I might do that on my last day of journalism. Like when I'm like 80 and I just want to go out with a bang, just show up in like fully decked white Real Madrid jerseys and just start flipping people the bird at the Metropolitano. It's like probably located in like a Pluto. You have to take a space Uber to get there.
Kiyan, the angry old man yelling from space, "Colchonero de mierda."
Poor Atletico fans. You know what? I sympathize with some of them because look, all of our friends that enter the Calderon, like for example, who do amazing work on that website, they're embarrassed about it. Like they don't like that this has happened. And there are definitely a lot of Atletico fans who are obviously not racist, and they had to watch that. It was a really, really, it was a shameful night for them, to be quite honest with you. It was because forget the fact that they did not play well. They lost to Real Madrid at their own stadium, but they was just marred by the entire racism thing as well, which it was the bigger story. Like it was like some people wanted us talk about football. You guys don't have you can't. This is a moment where football is inferior to the bigger picture. You can't this is not the biggest story. Is not football tonight.
It's interesting, drawing and two things. It's interesting to take this situation, this example, and compare it to the first time or the second time when Figo came back dressed in white as a Madrid player and playing in the Camp Nou, where the football was the subplot, right? It became the second story. It was more the hatred aimed at one specific player by 100,000 fans. And this is not to justify that, but you can't really compare the two situations, as in, one was a broken love affair and people being very salty about that and feeling hurt, feeling betrayed. And then this awkward Vinny situation, which is, I feel like the media, and we're often sort of point a finger at the media, say the media took this and ran away with it and gave it more exposure than it was supposed to have, and El Chiringuito this, and it's funny that so I hadn't seen the Chiringuito. last podcast, when you mentioned it, I couldn't believe what you said. Then we discussed, and I told you on the podcast, I said, hacer el mono is a Spanish saying for being silly, being stupid.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was kind of lost in translation. It was afterwards that I saw that they had to come out. I think he was the president of the Spanish Managers Association, something like that. And he said this on Chiringuito. Then Pederol came out and he explained it as well. And for somebody, native Spanish, Dutch, knowing of that saying, it wouldn't have rubbed me in a racist way hearing that initially. However, for the times that we are in, with the sensitivity, with obviously this also going across borders, it's more of a globalized game. You have to be open and also sensitive to different cultures, and obviously racism being such a unfortunately a prevalent part of Spanish football, and it has been for years. This is not the first time we're hearing monkey chants in Spanish football stadiums. So this has been something that has been going on for decades, right? I mean, I remember hearing it in the Camp Nou in a Clásico aimed at Roberto Carlos, and it was very this is in the 90s, and it was painful and awkward for me and embarrassing. We haven't really evolved that much. But anyway, coming back to that, and to that saying in particular, and to the whole media maybe blowing this whole thing up, thereby almost giving a pass to the Atletico fans for, venting this awkward frustration towards one player for dancing. It's, I don't know, man. It's So, okay, I have some thoughts on this because... Go.
Like,
because I don't know what the point I'm trying to drill home, but I hope it's something.
I understand what you're saying. And first of all, before I say anything, because you mentioned at the end, all of a sudden, it was weird. Vinicius became a target of outside of the racism, and he just became a target for no reason other than the fact that he was a story. He didn't do anything in the build up to this to upset Atletico fans. You know what I mean? He personally wasn't doing anything until it just blew up out of nowhere. This became.
Which we've also seen in the past. Brazilians dancing, the Neymars, the
My point is, I'm saying if it wasn't a story before this game, Vinicius wouldn't have been specifically target every time he touched the ball. You know what I mean? It didn't it's not like he came out and disrespected Atletico before this game. Yes, what happened was that basically he became a story because he dances, and then he and various other Brazilian players and outpouring of support from other players around the world put out statements against racism and supporting him and telling him to keep dancing, right? And then all of a sudden, Atletico fans hated him because of that and because Koke was asked about it. And okay, so the point about how in Spanish that's not it's more of a saying than a racist intention. This is where I think it's important to state that, look, we have a similar expression in English, monkeying around.
Horsing around, yes.
Right? But he also said that Vinicius should take his samba stuff back to Brazil and then follow it up with this expression. And I'm not going to come out and tell a black person from Brazil in English, take your samba stuff back to Brazil and stop monkeying around. That is not a tactful, wise, and respectful thing to say, especially 100%. In these times. And that's the point I was trying 100%. To make, because some people came at me and said, don't call them racist. That's not racist. And what I would just say to that is that at the very least, really, really be thoughtful of what you're saying and be aware of the times. And because Pederol's explanation video did not sit well. If you go to the comments on that video on any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, wherever else it was posted, possibly Facebook, I didn't see. It's just, I can't believe that you're defending this position. Instead, because he came out looking at like we're the victims, people calling us racist. And I think what he should have done is come out and say, we need to be more understanding and more thoughtful and more tactful when we're sending out a message about this stuff. So I just, Ewan made this point on the post-game podcast that like really no one, I think, came out looking good in this whole thing, apart from basically Vinicius and everyone who came out and supported him. Because even, everyone from the person who interviewed Koke to, I think, Koke needing to choose his words more carefully, to Chiringuito needing to choose their words more carefully. I mean, I even think that, at Managing Madrid, I'm not even sure if we did the best reporting on this that we could have done. And I think we could have done things differently in the way we reported it. But I think it's a lesson for everyone here involved to just start to... The only thing I can say that good came out of this was that more awareness has been raised about how we all act and how we all have dialogue about this stuff, like really and truly. And I say this as someone, because I'll just leave it there. I gotta leave it there. So yeah, I think yeah. Look, I agree with every single word that has come out your mouth so far. I think any sensible and reasonable person would. I listened to Pedro's apology. I didn't take issue with it as much, to the point where I felt like he didn't address the issue and he didn't apologize for it to Vinicius, to the Black society, to people who would have taken offense for saying like that. He also coined it as inappropriate. From my memory, from my knowledge of having watched it just the one time. So it's kind of a... In Spain, aquí pecamos mucho. Like, we are often guilty here in Spanish society, but maybe European society as a whole can generalize, of having a kind of primitive mindset still when it comes to being culturally sensitive, or realizing that there are people that take great offense to a kind of mindset that is, that we're kind of used to seeing from our grandparents. Oftentimes both my grandfathers and I still have one grandmother, but they would often say things that you're kind of like just slap your forehead and go. That's probably universal. I think, as generations pass, we start to all hopefully act a little bit better.
But I feel like Spain as a whole society was kind of slow to catch up, let's say, to the rest of the Western world when it came to progress and civil rights, and expecting or respecting different cultures, and also realizing that they form part of your culture, right? There are many generations now of immigration in all throughout European countries that it's not just, we're not just a white society that have allowed these people to come in. They are part of us. Like, they are part of our society and our culture. So, it pains me, because I don't like it when people brand Spain as a racist country. But I do recognize that there's still so much work to still be done. And that's why at the beginning of the show, I said, I hope La Liga takes action accordingly to really, just get rid of this, like, just to annihilate racism from the stadiums and from football if possible, but from stadiums in particular, because it just doesn't have a place in our society these days. And with a great game that has so much worldwide media attention, like an Atleti Real Madrid, you can't market your league behind something like that, and you got to take action. So be partially responsible as well. So.
And look, like, everyone has, there's no like infallible culture on earth that's like they get it right every time, right? You mentioned the Western world. The Western world has an unbelievable amount of racism still. And there's this whole thing about cultural differences is something that I think people bring up to defend racism sometimes. And I think it's worth addressing because even though it's a minority who defend it this way, they're a loud minority. And the thing is, like, I won't speak for Spanish people. I will say as an Iranian, there are plenty of racist things in Iranian culture that I completely disassociate from and I want nothing to do with. For example, blackface is very prominent in Iranian culture. Okay, over time, I think people are starting to realize that that's not appropriate. And I think this whole thing about cultural differences is that as the world gets smaller in the sense that we're more connected than we've ever been, the world is more multicultural. You go to any country, you see all different kinds of people. You see, different cultures marrying into each other. And over time, we're just growing smaller and smaller and more connected and more connected. Borders are BS. Like, borders are like this man-made construct. One of my favorite quotes is from the Baha'i writings, and in it, the Baha'i writings state that the earth is but one country, mankind its citizens. And I love that quote because I always felt like where you're born is a complete lottery. You can't control where you're born. And so, there's no reason all of a sudden to create these artificial barriers between someone and someone between like yourself and someone else who was born somewhere else. Yeah. What you, I think, have to do, especially as we continue to grow smaller and smaller and more connected, is that we have to understand the other perspective as much as humanly possible. And that will require us to sometimes rewire the way we talk, rewire the way we act, and start to be more sympathetic. And instead of saying, this is the way I've always done it, just listen. Just listen. You can say you're not racist. That's fine. But listen, when Vinicius comes out against racism, when Pelé comes out against racism, when Neymar comes out against racism, and all these guys, just listen to what they're saying, why they are hurt by this. Like, we just got to listen sometimes. That's it. That's what we got to do. So, yeah, it was a really tough weekend. Not for me, who cares about me, but it was, but I'm obviously not the victim here. But it's just anything you said about this matter of that this was not okay. Everyone came out, not everyone, the loud minority came out and started to defend it. And I'm just like, just listen, man. Just stop.
Well, we got our Kiyan TikTok segment of the week.
I think if that goes on TikTok, it's just going to be more people coming in and try to harass. So I don't know.
Well, no, you said that very well. Beautifully said. You said that the best thing to have come out of this was what did you say? You said the best thing to have come out of this was
I think just the awareness. The awareness and the support for Vinicius, and maybe that it might rewire us to think a different way.
I would argue and say that the best thing to have come out of this was this. Let's see if you can hear this, and let's see if you recognize it.
Freestyle?
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Can I get some context though?
So I don't know if you saw Diddy. Diddy posted. Oh, you gotta. I should send it to you. He
posted something in response to this.
Yes.
Oh, really?
A very clever way of promoting his new single as well. But he sent a post to Vinny. He said, "I see you, King. Fuck racism and the ignorant oppressors all over the world. We'll let God handle them. Don't ever let anybody steal your magic. The magic you perform on the field, or the magic that you have as a black man when you celebrate. Keep dancing and keep winning. We love you. We support you. A message to the rest of the world. Don't let anybody dim your light on this beautiful Saturday. Let's go." And it's a montage of Vinny celebrating goals and dancing. I'm sending it to you right now on Instagram. And it's yeah, it's cool, man. And the song is fire. But it's a really nice montage. And you got it right now. Okay, it's for later.
I'm down for
But
that.
yeah, man.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was cool. It's cool of Diddy to do that, and very smart as well of Diddy to do that. Take advantage of a hot trending topic to promote a little single.
We have about 5 minutes. What did you want to talk about? Want to talk about football or something else? What?
Yeah, I mean, did you manage to see this massive victory over Elche?
I did.
Or Elche coming to the Camp Nou.
I did watch it, yeah.
Left with 10 men. Last time that they beat us, it was 9-4. Of course, it wasn't going to happen on the day where Leva scores another brace, or Leri, I should say, scores a brace, and Memphis gets in on the action. 3-0, a game that had the same as Bayern when Xavi said, let's not draw massive, or we can't draw massive conclusions after this game. He said that beforehand. I think a similar can be said here, other than, you wanted Barca, of course, to react and bounce back. After the loss, their first loss of the season against Bayern, they did so against the very poor Elche side that is going to struggle massively, probably be relegated at the end of the season. But 3 points in the bag, 2 more goals for Lewandowski, and I mean, look, there's things to talk about. There's the Ansu story. There's plenty here to break down. I don't know what were your impressions in a game that was done and dusted with pretty quickly.
I don't know why, but I can't find my notes from that game. I don't know what they disappeared or something, but so now I've got to rely on memory. But from what I remember, it was just a pretty straightforward victory. That's it. Lewandowski's an assassin. He's so good. Just on fire. It was Elche, man. Sorry,
It was
I don't got
Elche.
much. Yeah.
No, there's really not that much to delve into the tácticas here on this very churros episode.
Very churros. Churros dominated for sure. I had some
Are you-
churros
are
in
you-
Madrid.
Yeah. I didn't. I saw you reposted something where everybody went churros, but I didn't see the post.
It was just a picture
I
of
thought-
the famous Chocolateria San Ginés in Madrid, which is basically a big chain now. They have it everywhere on every corner. So had some of that. It's yummy.
Are you you enjoyed your time there? Are you going to watch any of this UEFA leagues, UEFA Nations League action?
I
over the
have
next
to, I guess,
couple of-
right? I mean, there's you can't not. But I'm just not going to go crazy with work during this international break. I'll focus on other things. But Spain has a couple games, right?
Switzerland and Portugal, so that'll be good. Both teams.
Yeah.
Spain, Switzerland will be played in the La Romaleda, I think, down in Malaga. I think that gets played in the Romaleda, in Malaga. And then Portugal, Spain is over in Braga. And then what else we have?
Belgium,
the schedule
Wales,
here.
Hazard versus Bale. France, Austria.
Italy, England will be good.
France, as always, just so much drama behind the scenes. Thankfully, Benzema doesn't have to go to that this break, but you got the whole Pogba's brother in jail thing. You got Mbappe refusing to take part of a photo shoot because of some image rights issues.
No shit.
Yeah, Italy, England on September 23rd.
That's
What
the
else
gift that
you
just
got?
keeps getting Mbappe, man. Poland, Holland, Belgium, Wales.
I got something for you before we wrap it up.
What you got?
You know, on my quest, all the long flights I do, I'm on this mission to watch every single classic old movie that I haven't seen before. So, I've tackled in the past couple years Fight Club, Casino, Pulp Fiction, a bunch of other movies. I went way back on
Reservoir Dogs.
Haven't seen that yet. I went way back on yesterday's flight, all the way back to 1968. 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Oh wow!
Have you
I
seen
haven't
that?
No.
Very interesting. I've been told that this is like the classic of classic sci-fi films.
It is, yeah, of course.
Stanley Kubrick classic, very interesting. Definitely not what I was expecting, but I can't talk about it if you haven't talked about it. So
Yeah, it's on my endless list of must-watch movies. I like you. I have a lot of digging in the crates to do and revisit some of the old classics. That being one of them.
I also watched Superbad. You've seen that, right?
One of my all-time favorites.
I was just shaking, crying, laughing on the plane.
Was it the X-rated version they showed in the plane?
Oh yeah,
There's
everything.
So much dirt in there.
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah.
Good.
I did a double check, made sure there was no kids behind me at first. Yeah, I think there was a couple old ladies sleeping or something. So I was like, that's just fine.
Good,
I mean, why they if it's not okay, they wouldn't have put it on the plane, right? That's my justification.
Yeah, and I'm happy they showed the unfiltered version, because it's like these plane rides, long distance plane rides in the 90s used to come with like censored versions that were not the same.
In the 90s, you had to watch all the same TV. It was at the front of the plane, and it was a romantic chick flick or something like that.
Right,
and it was
exactly.
and you couldn't hear it. The headphone would crackle, and you couldn't see the screen.
Yeah, man. That's those days are gone. I haven't taken like a super long distance flight like that in a long time though.
There's rumors that the Club World Cup might be in the US this year. Did you hear that?
I heard something about that. Yes.
I'm hoping they put it in Vegas or something, or Miami, somewhere fun. That way you can make a trip, come watch Real Madrid, beat up some teams from around the world. We'll have a churro. Be nice.
We'll have my kind of churro. How's that? I'll make a trip halfway around the world for that, and then we'll record the churros, the most special of churros.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but I will.
You can figure it out.
With hesitation, I will accept the offer.
We got him, folks. You heard it here. It's on wax. Hey, listen. It was great talking to you. Should we let the audience know that we are going to be recording the Patreon pods more often than not on Thursdays?
Yes, sure.
We can do that.
Starting this Thursday.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're getting into the international break now. So if you're a patron over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas, send in questions on Patreon. Feel free to give us talking points. Diego and I, especially when it goes to the Raw edition, we can talk about anything from sports, music, basketball, movies, pop culture, churros.
Yes.
We haven't not politics, but pretty much everything else outside that. Yeah.
By the way, just before we say goodbye, was there, when you walked out of the Wanda, was there any kind of celebrations going on at the same time for the Spanish national team bringing home the trophy in basketball?
I didn't really see. I just saw a bunch of depressed people walking out of the stadium. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't get any sense of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
on that depressive note,
let's end there with depression. Yeah, but I know it was a big deal. So I mean, the Spanish
really
papers had it on their front covers, didn't they?
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah. Of course. No, it was a big deal because again, it was against all odds.
And also, it's a huge basketball country. It's not like a minor sport in Spain. It's it's not football, but what did you say? It's number 2?
Yeah, without a doubt, basketball is the number 2 sport, and Scariolo just doing an amazing job. What a coach he is. It's all down to him and the success of this team, the heart of this team, the way he managed to unify this group of players and bring out the best of each of them in very specific moments. It's been awesome to see. It's been awesome to see. And I was a little bit scared heading into this game because France has a really good team, and the battles between Spain and France are epic. They can get very feisty, very fierce. There's a hatred. I would say it's the biggest rivalry in European basketball, at least in Western European basketball. That's not a stretch. I think it's a given. And over the years, we've enjoyed some, hard-fought battles that went down to the wire, and this kind of wasn't so much in the end. It was still hard-fought, and certainly France tried to make a comeback, but you could just sense from the beginning, man, these boys were locked in, enchufados. They were plugged in and going for the win, and they did it. They did all of us proud. It was a wonderful thing to see. So, yeah, I congratulate all those guys for continuing to cement Spain as. If the U.S. wouldn't have existed, we would have had at least 2 gold medals. At least.
Well, unfortunately,
I'll take number 2 spot.
Fortunately, they do exist because they have given us the gift of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, well, of course.
And Kawhi Leonard. Thank you, Diego.
Hey, are we going to look forward to on that celebrative note? One last question: your TikTok reels. Who does that for you? I need to get on that. I want to start doing.
Well, one of our listeners. Shout out to Angelo if you're listening to this. One of our patrons who is
Angelo. Reach out to me.
Okay, Angelo. I'll hook you guys. I'll connect you guys too. Great guy, does terrific work, and so yeah. You know me, and Angelo knows this too. I didn't want to get on TikTok, but I have to. Because what am I going to do? Just die? You die. If you're not on TikTok, you die. Death will be upon you because then you just become a dinosaur and you go extinct.
Look at me. I'm aging by the day because I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah.
This is the hats is not fooling anybody. I'm a gray old man.
Yeah. Oh, right. You look better though. I think men generally age, like they peak when they're 60. I think. So what are you, like 40?
I agree.
You're 20 years away from your peak.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, we were also in talks with possibly a cartoon version of Churros. We should talk about that a little bit. Yeah, there was somebody that came out, a patron of ours, that said that they could animate Churros.
What? I don't
you remember? It was a studios thing. Like this guy, he works
like they would, like we would just be cartoon characters talking.
Studio anime. Yeah.
Oh.
We'll talk about more. I'll refresh your memory.
All right.
In our on our DMs on Patreon, you can reach out.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back on Thursday over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas, and we'll see you there for a more raw version. And thanks, Diego. It was fun, man. Take care, buddy.
Thank you, bud. Yes. You too.